Hello, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Focus on Liberia. You are watching our usual program, Roundtable Africa. I am Sekou Kele, your host, and I'm here with my co-host and FOL correspondent, West African correspondent, Edward Amara. And today we are discussing a very interesting topic, a bird's eye view of AFCON Yaoundé 2022. We are discussing the African Cup of Nations, the ongoing tournament right now in the capital city of Cameroon, Yaoundé. We want to bring you some news and discuss sport in general and what Africans are making of this competition, the future of this football competition that we all know from our childhood. We all will hear about African Cup of Nations, and we have another one ongoing right now in Cameroon. And Edward Amara is here to discuss it with me. And Edward, welcome. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine, and Happy New Year to a host of our listeners across the globe. And we are very happy to start this fresh discussion, especially when it is in the new year and we have new things happening on the continent of Africa in respect to AFCON or African Football Association. So I'm really happy to be part and parcel of this program, and we also are willing to share our views about the tournament and how far has it created impact on the continent of Africa. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Edward Amara. We'll go shortly into this topic. But before we do that, we want to get the latest headlines in Africa. What has been going on in the past 1 week, Edward Amara? We heard a lot have been going on. Please tell us.
Yeah, a lot have actually been going on the continent of Africa. First, we come into West Africa. We watch at Burkina Faso. A coup d'etat was thwarted yesterday in Burkina Faso, according to President Rory Kabore. There is a kind of colonel into the Burkina Faso army by the name of Colonel Momandi Dugari. He has actually been critical of the government, and yesterday it was alleged by the president that 8 people, including him, have been placed under investigation because they made a solid attempt to overthrow the Kabore-led government. Kabore has actually been accused of being reckless, nonchalant, at the same time incapable of handling the jihadist movement that is going on into Burkina Faso. It had led to a lot of citizens being taken into captivity, destruction of structures into the country, and at the same time, the country have been thrown into political instability, like the serious demonstration that was going on the other time. And even we are demanding for the French forces to leave because they feel and think that Rory Kabore is unable to or incapable of handling the conflict into Ethiopia. Then we also crossed into Liberia. The entire ministry, staff of the Ministry of Agriculture in Liberia have actually been placed under investigation by the country Anti-Draft Commission. The Anti-Draft Commission actually accused the ministry headed by Jenny Copper, who is the agricultural minister in Liberia. The ACC or the Liberian ACC, the Liberia Anti-Corruption Commission, accused the ministry of reckless handling of contract, like inappropriate way of handling contract, embezzlement of public funds, at the same time the failure of the ministry to meet the public expectation. And a lot of allegations like that have actually come across the ministry. So the entire staff have been put under investigation. However, Jenny Cooper told the BBC yesterday that she has never received any formal written letter or indictment from the ACC Commission. But the ACC has promised that they will table the complaint that they have, and she and her staff are definitely going to face the music. Then we also watch into Liberia again. From Sierra Leone here, a man was arrested on Monday who was allegedly put his son on sale from Sierra Leone. And the man was arrested through a tip-off of the police. According to sources, the man had a kind of a bike or Honda, normally called into Sierra Leone here, issued to handle. And he felt that he can't afford to pay the loan of the bike issue that he actually got involved in. So what he decided doing, he took his son and put it on sale into Liberia. He was being contacted, and those who are the customers or alleged cannibals in Liberia claim that they have customers who are willing to do the transaction, and this boy was actually being identified as a chicken in any bag. So the police got a tip off, and the man was arrested. Now he's helping the police on the investigation. And those who are the alleged buyers of the boys are actually on the run, but the police have promised to ensure that he's actually being brought to book. And we also go into Nigeria. In Nigeria, is popular man there by the name of Bola Tinubu has now announced his intention to run for the hot seat in Nigeria. The hottest seat in Nigeria actually belong can I belong to the north or the east, depending on the dispensation of the political activities. Now, President Muhammad Buhari will definitely retire in 2023. Bola Tinubu, who has been seen as one of the steward of the party and who was responsible, or who and a lot of others orchestrated the downfall of the PDP by then in 2016, led by Goodluck Jonathan, has announced his intention. The 69-year-old want to take over the baton of power just after President Muhammad Buhari may have left. However, the Vice President of Nigeria, Yemi Obasanjo, also wants to take over the powers of the Hem of Affairs in Nigeria, but he's yet to announce his presence. Then finally, we conclude in sport where we are coming to. Sierra Leone shocked the world yesterday, especially the fan of soccer. They are one of the underdogs team into the current Confederation Cup, African Nation Cup going on. They drew with Nigeria, which is world #1 country into Africa when it comes to soccer. And Sierra Leone is placed on the 77th position in Africa, while Algeria is placed first. So the drew of Liberia as like Sierra Leone yesterday against Algeria, the world Africa #1 country on the continent, is a clear indication that there is no underdog into the continent, and at the same time, no team should be underestimated. Why Nigeria got a better out of Egypt, and we saw Senegal, Guinea, and others recording victory on the first stages of the tournament. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Edward Amara. Thank you for giving us the breakdown there. Definitely a lot is going on around the continent, the news from Nigeria. We will definitely come to that in the next week or so to discuss Burkina Faso. That is very, very interesting. We want to know what is happening about the alleged coup plot. We want to know, but definitely we'll look into it next week. But for the sake of today's broadcast, we will stick to our topic, which is a bird's eye view of AFCON Yaoundé 2022. So that takes us to our first question, Edward Amara. A brief historical background of AFCON, the African Cup of Nations. When did this tournament really start? Because for me, I thought, briefly after independence, the African nations wanted to, in the spirit of Pan-Africanism, to keep the integration of the continent, to keep the spirit of unity together. So that's why this sport was created. So I don't know, do you have any other reason why you think AFCON was created?
Yeah, when you watch at the historical background of AFCON, it came at a time when everybody wanted to see unity in Africa. But when you watch at Africa, we got independence. Most of the countries in Africa got independent into the early 50s, 60s, late 70s, 80s, and even some countries registered their independence in the 1990s. And we saw South Sudan being the latest in 2012. However, football was seen as a kind of unifying thing. And you saw Europe, we already developed, and they had their own intention to ensure that they continue into the unity vein that they found themselves in. But then Africa was virtually at par. We had armed struggles, different other things we are actually going on the continent of Africa. So in 1957, when FIFA met in Lisbon, that is Portugal, they decided to create what they call continental football. And that continental football should actually be involved like in the form of men. And there, Africa also is a continent on their own. So they decided that Africa should also have a kind of the football, continental football that is actually contested among men. So in 1957, actually, CAF was created, the Confederation of African Football was actually created. When it was created, we have 4 teams that actually made the first stage, and that was not actually due, it was not played under any qualifying stages. We saw like Ethiopia, South Sudan, we also saw South Africa and Egypt. However, since where you may understand the synergy about the entire creation of the Africa Popular was a kind of driving force that will enforce unity on the continent of Africa. South Africa, by then being led under the apartheid regime, as they also lost the last man who actually ruled South Africa, P.W. de Klerk. We also discussed, have a lengthy program about him here. So, but by then, South Africa was under apartheid regime. What they did, they filled in a kind of team that was full of white, and that was seen as discriminatory, insulting. At the same time, it was against the norm that CAF was created. So South Africa was definitely dropped. And when South Africa was dropped, Ethiopia had the opportunity to go directly to the final because Ethiopia was due to play against South Africa, while South Sudan was pair against Egypt. And Egypt defeated South Sudan, and the contest, the final was staged between Egypt and Ethiopia. But Egypt had the upper hand. Egypt won the tournament on 3 different occasions. And that particular, by the time...
Sorry, there was no South Sudan then, right?
Yeah, it was Sudan. Okay, excuse me, Sudan.
Yes.
Sudan. Thank you for the correction. So Sudan won the tournament. When Sudan won the tournament, so we saw Ethiopia also started hooting. Initially, it was 4. Then it went to 16. And 16 countries could be just barely at the, let me just say, arguably, like the countries into West Africa, but maybe by geographical size, it should be more than that. Then in 1995, Nigeria withdrew. In 2010, we saw Nigeria withdrew. It left up the countries we are left 15 because by 2000, by 1996 to 1990 to 2017, we are having 16 countries contesting for the most important trophy into Africa. But when Nigeria withdrew in 2016, I mean in 1996, the countries became 15. But later on, she added herself. Then we saw also Togo withdrawing herself in 2010, but she also came back. By 2017, it was realized that Africa is a country well over 55 countries, and at the same time, allowing only 16 countries to contest for this particular important trophy will be indirectly depriving others who equally have the ambition. So by then they decided that then 24 countries to contest for the trophy in 2017. When they accepted 24 countries and the trophy was made, the tournament was actually held in every 2 years' time. However, in 2017, it was agreed that it should be held in odd years. That after any 2 years, the one making 3, it should be like AFCON should also take place. And Egypt have actually emerged as the most successful country on the continent by winning it 7 good times, while Cameroon has 5, Nigeria 2, Ghana. We have seen South Africa, that is Bafana in 1990 when they won it. We have also seen Ethiopia, DRC. Then we saw something like Algeria has also won it. They are the current champion. Then Tunisia have also won it. So this tournament was actually created as a force of unity that should enforce unity on the African continent, because soccer is seen as something that brings together youth, unite the political world, and at the same time settle our differences and maybe foster economic development. But as we go around, we may also understand why it is. But I think it was actually created to ensure that unity should be enforced on the continent. That is why when South Africa filled in a kind of team that was only made up of the white, the CAF rejected it and she eliminated herself on it. But since then, South Africa have decided to continue to have an amalgamated team full of black, colored, and whatsoever. And remind you, South Africa have the black, they have the Dutch, they have the color, and also white. So everybody has now the opportunity to become a member of the South African national team.
Yeah, I remember vividly in the late 90s, I don't know which year is precisely, when South Africa won the African Cup of Nations, Bafana. You know, I used to, with my family, we live in a little village in Ivory Coast, western part of Ivory Coast. We were refugees from Liberia. So we were living there, you know, and then, you know, there was excitement in the village about this whole competition. People were happy. There was only one video club in that village, and it was a black and white TV. So everyone went in there. Everybody asked your mother for money. So we went there. It was so exciting. Every kid and everybody was excited, both old and young. But as time went by, like late 2000 down, I see the spirit of the competition. It seems to be going down instead of going up. I see more youth now are more concerned with Chelsea, Barcelona, and all these European teams. when it's now time for African Cup of Nations, you don't see that excitement anymore. I remember when we were teenagers, we were so excited to watch the African Cup of Nations. The South African Bafana. In fact, we used to memorize the names of all the nicknames of all these teams. You know, the Super Eagle, the Bafana, all these other teams. So today, I see the spirit of AFCON. I don't know whether it's still the same, but to me, it seems to have gone down, and it seems that something is not done right. That brings us to our second question. Why does AFCON really matter? You know, we talked about unity, you know, the unification and the integration of the people of Africa. You know, that's why this sport is very important. And another reason, you know, I think that this sport is important is to actually, you know, develop our sport. Because you see, Africans, when they go abroad, we are the best. We are always the best in mostly all the sports. In America, if you go to boxing, you go to all these other sports in America, they are football, the black people dominate. If you go even to the European League, black people that plays in these teams, they dominate. You see, in France, when France won the last World Cup, it was full of black people. But back on the continent, it seems like nothing is being done. We always lose and we are not doing well in sport. But when we go abroad to play for all the other teams, we are doing well. So I think one of the reasons AFCON is important is to develop that spirit for young people to love the sport so that we can perform. We can be the best. Why can't Africa be the best in football? You know, when we produce some of the best players in the world. You see, the first man who the greatest footballer of all time, arguably was Pele, you know, a black man. So we have been at the top when it comes to sport. But on the continent itself, it seemed that we underperform. So AFCON was to awaken that spirit, you know, for young people to be interested in sport so that they can be able to go on the world stage to represent the continent. So we start winning again. You see, another reason also, you know, to settle all these borders, because, you know, remember when Africa gained our independence, there were a lot of disputes on the border issue. There are people who felt that the colonial border, you know, have to be dismantled there. They have certain territory in other countries. So there was this dispute. So people were actually suspicious of other people. So the politics wasn't helping. So I think people felt that, look, when this kind of sport is taking place, other people are coming from different parts of the continent that we are playing. It's going to create that spirit of unity. After all, we have certain families that are, you know, on the other side of the border. For Liberia, for example, you have people, Mende, you have Kisi, other people in Liberia, and you also have them in Sierra Leone. So we are actually like one family. But having this kind of sport now will bring all those people back together, and then it will create that spirit of unity. And when I look at something, I will be watching sport, I will see a player in Guinea having the same name as me. I'm a Liberian. Then I see someone playing in Guinea with the name Sekou. I see someone playing from Cote d'Ivoire with the same name Sekou. I'm like, I think we are all the same people. So the sport was really exciting on the continent, but I feel like in that spirit of unity or that happiness, that enthusiasm is going down. We don't see it anymore. We see it mostly during Barcelona, Chelsea match, but we don't see it during the African Cup of Nations. Talk on that, Edward.
Yeah, I can't agree with you more on most of those summations. Why AFCONs matter? It matters for a lot of reasons. First, we want Africa to be identified as a continent on its own. And Africa also wants to send its message to other continents because, like you talk about Europe, the America, Asia, and the other continents in the world, that Africa also have the ability and the capability to organize independent competition on their own, where we can be identified. So when you are seeing other European continents, like you have the Copa d'Ivoire, you have the Europe, you have other Asian continents where they have their own continental competition. So AFCON mattered first to also prove that Africa also is important in competing, and we have people who think liberally, who are intellectually built, and they have the ability to organize things and bring Africans on the same platform. Another thing could be like we Africans have faced a lot of discrimination. You rightly stated, when you talk about soccer into Europe, you cannot divorce Africans on it. Reason being, when you watch at most of the most classified, well-informed, intensified players with high caliber mentality are actually Africans. Like Pele is a Brazilian boy, he's black by skin. Now we are seeing what is happening into the Premier League, into La Liga, into Serie A, into League One, into the Portuguese League. We have seen what is happening over there. Africans have been constantly discriminated. They have been treated as mere animals. Each time an African misbehaves, you see them, they throw the banana on the field to take it, classifying or relegating it to a position of a monkey. We have seen how the French team won the Nation Cup, the last World Cup, but typically it was made out of Africans. It was Africans that actually won the cup. That is why credit was being given more to Africa. But how can we identify them as French people? Even watch at England national team. Most of those players who have been there and who are still there are actually Africans. Look like Germany will have Antonio Rudiger, who is from Sierra Leone. And you are even watching Alfonso, who was a refugee. Now he plays his football for Bayern Munich. He's a Liberian. Maybe he definitely identify himself as a French citizen, and he may not definitely not come to play for Liberia, but he's playing for Bayern Munich. So you are saying this thing. So AFCON matter in the first place to stop the discrimination that Africans are facing in the other international competition. And you also watch at it again. AFCON matter. It matters a lot in the first place to ensure that we want to expose the talent of Africa to the world. Because even when you watch education, we have three aspects. We have the moral aspect, we have the intellectual aspect, and we have the athletic aspect, the one that deals with skills. That is why you have the Sakamoto domain, the cognitive domain, and the affective domain that talks about the behavioral pattern. You see Africa, there is no area in Africa where you may.
Yeah, Edward is breaking there. So we have, seems to be a network issue.
You know, you may not understand that.
Welcome back. Oh, yeah, sorry, we have some network issue there. Edward Amara will come back on. I think he was trying to talk about the why AFCON matters really, because if you look at the discrimination that African players face, even in European in the European competition, European leagues, they go through a lot. You see, so it's time for us to actually develop our own sport. It's time. The entire continent, we don't really have, apart from this Cup of Nations, there is no serious football activities going on. The Europeans have developed their clubs. Their billionaires have invested in their clubs to a point where players have become millionaires by mere playing football. We have to come to that level in Africa, where we have some of the best players. But it's time for our billionaires, our investors to invest in the sport. When they invest into it, definitely it's going to help to bring out the young talent, the talent that we have that are wasted. You know, we can make use of them. The few players we have playing in Europe, we have more of them in Africa. We have a lot of them. If you go to all the towns and villages, there are a lot of boys there who are super talented. But if they don't know anyone, they don't have any connection, then their talent die with them. So if we have people investing in sport, it will definitely help to uplift the African football. We definitely are doing well in sport. We are some of the best sport people in the world. So African sport need to be looked at really. And AFCON is one of the platforms that can be used to showcase this talent. When you watch AFCON, you look at how great these players are. Imagine if after AFCON, we have other tournaments going on the continent that are worth billions and millions. Imagine the kind of young people that are going to come up to display their talent. You see, it's sometimes when I say that, I look at Africa has now won the World Cup up to now since FIFA was established. So these are things that we need to go past that. Africa needs to really compete now with the rest of the world because we have it. We are all over in Europe. Their clubs don't do without black players. So how come then back on the continent we underperform? It's something that I've always struggled with in my head and said, what is really wrong? Is either the infrastructures are not there, or is it because the players are not well paid, or is it because the political climate in Africa is not too good for this competition? something is definitely wrong, not with the people, but with the system, that is governing the people. That's why we are now winning. So AFCON should be supported. In fact, when I look at the stadium in Yaoundé in Cameroon, the stadium is empty. I'm wondering what's happening. Welcome back, Edward.
Yeah, I'm sorry. My data, there's network complication here.
Okay. Yeah, I was wondering, I watched the match between Nigeria and versus Egypt. And I look at the stadium was empty. I said, where are the spectators? Where are these people that are crowding video clubs to watch Chelsea versus Barcelona? Where are they? Where are these people that always commit suicide when Man U loses a match? Where are they? How come the stadiums are empty? I really don't understand, Edward.
Yeah, I think it is due to various factors. In the first place, how many Egyptians are actually in Cameroon? That is one. Then you also watch at the economy factor. A lot of things have happened of late. Maybe you have a lot of Egyptians who are well placed, but they do not find themselves into Cameroon. And you watch at Cameroon is actually in Central Africa, arguably, but the share borders with West Africa, especially the like of Nigeria. That is one. Then you watch also as Nigeria. Nigeria is very close to Cameroon. Nigeria is very close to Cameroon. So I was expecting a lot of Nigerians, because of their population and wheresoever, for them to actually fill the stadium and create that type of atmosphere, a convivial atmosphere that may resemble or present a typical footballing temperature. Unfortunately, this thing we are not found. Anyway,
do you think the poor infrastructure play a role there? Because how come people cannot travel from Nigeria to go to Cameroon?
However, Nigerians share close border with Cameroon. But that also tells you that AFCON, where it is held in Nigeria, in Cameroon share borders with Nigeria. But you watch at the Bakassi Peninsula, Nigeria and Cameroon have series of problems. It could be political because of Boko Haram, and those borders are actually under strict control. So you cannot just leave just because you want to go and watch AFCON in Douala, in Bamenda, or Yaoundé, wheresoever there. They cannot just allow you to go there because of all of those circumstances. Maybe the political factor, economic factor, and even the country that is currently hosting AFCON. It is actually been thrown into political turmoil. You watch at Paul Biya, since 1986 he came into power and as a president, but he's actually serving as prime minister before 1986. And Cameroon have just seen the entire thing about soccer being led by Paul Biya, and under him, Cameroon have won the trophy 5 times, and the latest being in 2017. So all of those things are there. The political factor, Cameroon is not safe. You are seeing the Francophone Cameroonians are also fighting against the Anglophone Cameroonians. And even within Cameroon itself, most of them, especially when you talk about the Francophone Cameroonians, the Anglophone Cameroonians, they are not free. They are under strict political control. And all of these things are there. So even when you are within Cameroon, you do not have the ability to go and watch football anywhere because all of those things. And there are certain people, when they have respect for their security, at the same time their life, they may just consider Cameroon to be an unsafe ground where they cannot attend such things. Because Boko Haram is there, the separatists, the Anglophone Cameroonians are fighting against the Francophone Cameroonians, and all those they are being detained, they are being tortured. So all of these things are around. Maybe it is associated to such things.
Because but I'm wondering why was CAF
actually are contesting in the continent?
Right. Why would CAF choose a country that is having political unrest? I don't understand. I think the first thing they should be considering is the political stability of the country, the host country. So why would you go to Cameroon when you know that the climate there is not too good, the political terrain is in brief trouble, and there are rebels threatening the capital, and you have insecurity everywhere? Why would you choose that place to host the tournament? I don't really understand that, Edward.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a bit baffling, Cameroon to be choosing under this particular tense political atmosphere that's been led by a dictator who people are just probing on a daily basis. Because when you watch at the Southern Cameroonian television, it is just like a revolutionist television where you have a lot of social rebels that are packed there calling upon popular rebellion against the government, and they're doing it because they felt deprived. They feel that they are definitely being deprived of their freedom. They do not have the emancipation that was being preached for quite a long time, and they're still under draconian regime. Maybe CAF should have watched under those things, because even in Nigeria, because one thing about organizing this football tournament, it's not only for political factor, also watch at the economic factors. And if you can organize a tournament, we have spectators in the stadium are limited. It is also dwindling down the very purpose that you organize a tournament for. I think CAPs need to investigate this thing. But we have seen this on several occasions. We have seen Egypt hosting it. We have seen Egypt is not also politically stable at that, but they have managed to maintain certain system. We have seen Cameroon hosting it, even Nigeria and other places. Maybe I think CAF need to understand this thing, because each time you allow a country who is not politically stable to host this type of tournament, some people would deliberately refuse coming in. So CAF did it in our own wisdom, but it was unfortunate. And another thing could be like those who are Cameroon was more willing to undertake the economic responsibility, because watch at the COVID-19, it has a toll on Africa. Mind you, this particular competition should have been held in 2020. Now it was being pushed to 2022 because of the kind of atmosphere that they did. In 2021, it pushed to 2022 because of the atmosphere that we're facing. One, COVID-19 has taken toll over the African economy, and a lot of things that happen. There are certain people who cannot even meet the infrastructure development. Another thing could be like South Africa would have afforded doing it, Egypt could have afforded doing it, maybe Ghana would have afforded doing it, and Cameroon would have afforded doing it, because those countries have previously hosted this particular competition. Other countries like Sierra Leone, maybe Liberia, or any other country that have never hosted this particular tournament, even if they were given the opportunity, they would have withdrawn, because the infrastructure development is not there. But these people already have a kind of a space set. They only needed to make certain improvement on it. And I told you initially, under Paul Biya, he has done extremely well in terms of soccer, because they have won this particular tournament on 5 different occasions. That could be some of the things.
Right. Eduamara, that brings us to our third question here, the socio-economic importance of AFCON. For me, I think this is another wasted opportunity on the part of Africa. I understand the issue of coronavirus, the Omicron variant, people are trying to be careful not to be among crowd. We understand that part. But if you look closely, this competition is $1 billion industry. Okay, if the borders were good, if the roads were paved, if there was political stability on the continent, and people can just get in train, take a fast train from West Africa and get into Cameroon within few hours. If I can move from Nigeria and Abuja, take a bullet train and get into Cameroon to watch a tournament and come back even the same day. If I can, why not? Because if I can move from Italy, okay, from Milan and go into all the way to Brussels and come back the same day, if I want to, why can't I move from Abuja and go to Yaoundé and watch a football match and come back? Imagine if those infrastructures were available for people to move like that. The stadium will be packed. Small businesses will be impacted. They will have a lot of economic activity going on there. A lot of businesses will profit from it. The local businesses, the people will profit from it. So this is things that our leaders don't even look at. They think this is just young people having fun. They just want to kick a balloon in a net. That's all they want to do. If you ask an average African leader right now, I mean, these outdated leaders that are having the analog way of thinking, if you ask them, what is the competition all about? For them, is that a group of young people that are jobless, kicking ball in the net? That's all they are looking at. They don't see the economic opportunity there. They don't see the $1 billion industry there, the opportunity to uplift the local businesses, for people can benefit the hotels and all these people that are running hospitality business. They can actually generate a lot of revenue from there. Government also benefits through taxes. So these are things we overlook. This competition has been around, and I doubt even if the host country make any money because you have few people on the stadium. Very few people are able, even if the young people want to go, they are not able to go. Either there will be immigration restrictions, or the roads are not good, or the transport is expensive, and there is no international highways connecting African countries. These are some of the disadvantages. So I think this is $1 billion industry that is being left like that, being abandoned by these incompetent leaders. For me, that's my view. Anytime I look at AFCON, I say this is another $1 billion industry that is being overlooked by Africans. If you give it to Europeans today, they know where to hit to make that play to generate billions of dollars in every competition.
Yeah, Bob,
yeah, I want you to comment on that, how the economic opportunity that is being lost just because of political instability, just because there are no roads connecting, just because the leaders are not visionary enough to be able to plan this thing in a way that the host country will really benefit.
You see, I think one of the important reasons why we have AFCON on the continent is for socio-economic development. Unfortunately, that has never been realized because of political instability and then the selfish, unscrupulous nature of our politicians. When you watch, at least soccer should not have any political interference. However, the political class should help to make the ground a convivial one, ideal for soccer to play, and the benefit should actually come on the continent. Essentially, it should have a deep reflection on the people. But when you watch at Africa, that is why we are seeing the bird eye view of AFCON. And one of the bird eye view here could be like the socioeconomic importance of the AFCON itself. It has only been felt in few other African countries because, like Sierra Leone per se, cannot host this particular tournament because of what? Since it came in 1957, not even a day Sierra Leone will tell you that she has actually hosted it. Why? It is because of series of what? Economic mismanagement, series of political blunders, misbehavior, bad governance, and whatsoever thing, corruption, embezzlement, you name these things. Liberia cannot similarly boast of such things. Guinea have been involved into this tournament for quite a long time, but Guinea has never faced any democratic regime. The Guinean regime has been well corrupt, masterclass in time of embezzlement, and we all know we have politicians who are deeply wicked in misbehaving with their political activities. You watch at Ivory Coast, Ghana has managed to host it, and there is a massive improvement into Ghana. And we have also seen Nigeria has managed to host it. See how the Nigeria class of football have actually improved. But arguably, we cannot cry down the African continent because we have seen Togo. Togo is a very small country on the western coast of Africa, but their football activities definitely improved. They may not have hosted the tournament, but since they had demand regime, we are seeing foreign CB over there, who is his son. Arguably, they are competing into the competition. And we have seen stars coming like Emmanuel Adebayo or others, though he's a Nigerian by descent, but he decided to declare his nationhood for Togo. Now, you have seen Nigeria is massively developed in terms of soccer. See how many Nigerians are playing football on the continent in other continents. There are a lot of them are in Europe, and others are in China, while others are in America. You think about Ghana, you look at Egypt, you look at Tunisia, you look at Morocco, you look at Mauritania, you watch out South Africa, all of those things. So arguably, I think and feel that there is some amount of economic reflection, there is socio infrastructural development, because all of those countries who have managed to host it, definitely they have improved. Unfortunately, those where bad governance have existed for chronic years, their system is still very appalling, and they have not been able to do anything beyond the normal circumstances or beyond the one. That is why sometimes we normally say poverty. I also agree with you. Sometimes poverty is definitely not natural. Poverty is being created at man, and definitely we are seeing these things. So all of those things are there. Maybe the political class are not making the economic reflection to be happening. Then another thing could be like CAF also have a kind of selfish mentality because they watch at the country's capability first and their ability to undertake certain tournament before ever they award that type of right of hosting the tournament. Maybe if they want other country to be amalgamated into such development to be definitely involved, CAF have money. They can appeal to FIFA. If Sierra Leone want to hold this tournament, with the little Sierra Leone can have, let CAF help to raise funds in particular country and host it. Liberia also can benefit from such thing like that. Guinea can also benefit from such thing like that. But though they give certain percentage of it, but they may definitely not continue to doing everything. You have to do around 60%. They will supply you around 40%, and you may rely on other things. Unfortunately, this are not been. That is why when you watch at the tournament holistically, only few countries have successfully benefited, while a lot of other people are only competing. Since 1996, this is the first time Sierra Leone is registering her presence on AFCON. And most of the time, because of political interference, SLAP, that is Sierra Leone Football Association, have been suspended from FIFA by FIFA. Even Liberia also suffer similar thing. Guinea have suffered. No country on the continent have never failed to suffer such thing because the political interference into football by political class is really not helping to develop the economic and social infrastructure development that we actually need. Maybe people have been rewarded based on clientism.
Thank you very much, Edward Amara. We will take a short break, ladies and gentlemen, and we will be back. When we come back, we have 2 more questions to discuss here with my co-host, Edward Amara. Please don't go away.
At Focus on Liberia, we discuss everything Liberia, from education to politics, arts and culture, entertainment, agriculture, history, religion, family, and technology. Focus on Liberia uncovers and showcases the best of Liberia and shows the world the truth about Liberia. We educate, elevate, and promote all things Liberia. We conduct interviews, panel discussions, debates, and more. Tune in to Focus on Liberia on Facebook and YouTube and be a part of the stories that make up the news.
This is Focus on Liberia, and I am Dennis Ja.
Welcome back. Thank you for watching Focus on Liberia. This is Roundtable Africa, and I'm Sekou Kele, your host. We are discussing the topic, a bird's eye view of AFCON Yaoundé 2022, the ongoing African Cup of Nations in the Central African country of Cameroon. And we here discussing, the next question that we want to discuss here is why there's always political interference into football activities in Africa. Edward Amara, we already touched on this before we went on break, and I would like us to go over it again. Why is there always political interference in the football activities in Africa? For me, where the political interference, for me, I will more focus on the political instability that is actually somehow kind of an impediment to the development or the vision of this AFCON. Is impeding the vision of AFCON in a way that people are not allowed to travel freely. The so-called ECOWAS that we believe have a free, you are allowed to travel freely in the ECOWAS area. Once you have your ECOWAS ID or whatever, you can go around. It is just on paper. But once you get in your car right now, you want to travel in between Sierra Leone, Guinea, Mali, you find out that these criminal border police will start to harass you. They will start to give you trouble. It's unlike Europe. I've been into Europe. I've traveled in a bus from Italy. I went up to Germany from Italy. I went all the way to Germany in a bus, and I came back. Okay, I crossed all these countries. I passed through France. I passed through Geneva. There was no trouble. Nobody in border, or there were places where they can stop and then do some little check, and then that's it. But most of the time, no checking at all. You travel freely, and nobody's going to take a dime from you. Nobody's going to disrespect you. Nobody's going to touch you. Okay, everybody will give you your maximum respect. The security respect people. They talk to you as if you are like a boss. They give you all the maximum respect that you deserve as a human being. But when you are in West Africa, okay, you want to travel just from Liberia to Mali, you want to travel from Sierra Leone to go to Nigeria, get in a bus, then you will get the insult of your life. You might lose a lot of income before you get to Nigeria. You might be harassed. You might go through a lot. You will be detained more than 3-4 times before you get to your destination, and you'll be detained for no reason. So these are things that affect AFCON. What do you expect a man in Senegal, in Mali, wants to go to Cameroon to go watch this tournament, and you want him to get in a bus to go? You know what he's going to face, apart from the insecurity, the political instability, which are, by the way, the security themselves become the armed robbers on the road. So Africa is not really ready. The leaders are not even looking at the basics of development, the basic things that they need to do to allow the integration of the continent, to allow things like that to go on. This is what happened, brother, when you copy and paste development without having a vision of your own. This is what happened when you try to copy people without really looking inward to say, what do I want? What is my vision? This is what is affecting the African continent. African leaders are playing, they support the tournament because they see it happening in Europe. They think AFCON is important because there is sport going on in Europe. They think ECOWAS is important because there is an European Union. They think anything that the African Union, it was Organization of African Unity. As soon as European changed their EC to European Union, they too they changed to African Union. For them, they are just copycats. They have no paradigm on their own. They have no vision. They have no plan. Because when you have a paradigm, you have your own vision and plan, then you will do what we call self-critique. You will criticize your own system and look at it critically, whether it's working for you or not. This AFCON cannot be successful when our roads are not open for us to travel. This AFCON cannot be successful when you have political instability everywhere. It cannot be successful when these ECOWAS and EC, all these agreements are on paper, but they are not implemented. Africans cannot travel freely within the continent. They will write it on paper that you can travel. I have an experience. I've traveled all over West Africa, and I know that you can be detained for no reason. I was detained in Burkina Faso for no reason because I'm Anglophone. They say I'm Anglophone. I told them, what is that? Because they opened my passport, they saw Liberia, they said, oh, c'est Anglophone. They put me, they detained me, they said they need to question me because I come from English-speaking part of Africa. I said, brother, I'm not an Englishman. I am an African, just like you. So treat me as an African. Don't treat me as an Anglophone. Anglophone is a tag from colonial era. So don't see me as Anglophone and you as Francophone. You are not French and I am not English. We are African. That's the identity that we should focus on. He said, no, he wants to do his job. I was detained several times in Mali, also for no reason, because I carry a passport that has English writing in it. So with such mentality, you want us to be playing a tournament and appear before TV as if Africa is integrated, while in reality, we are not. We are the most divided people in the world. So for me, Edward Amara, then the political interference here, for me, is like the territory. The Africans are not ready. Our leaders are not ready. The system is not ready to host, to go ahead with this kind of sport. We can force it, but you can look at the outcome. Look at the stadium. Look at how much, how many people go to the stadium, and then see for yourself. That will tell you that the continent is not doing the basic thing it needs to do in order to host such tournament.
Yeah, I think you summarize a lot of important things that are responsible for political interference into African football, and which is definitely serving as a serious predicament towards the growth of the game itself on the continent. Having underscored that, let's watch at certain things. There is just lack of patriotism into Africa, especially when it comes to the ruling classes. I believe when you want to, like, if you want to appoint a kind of football governing body on the continent and in respect of one's country, You must understand that you are trying to do with something that entertain, that bring development, inform, and maybe help Africa and the country where you are to associate itself with other African countries. We have seen a lot of development in other African countries, like the like of Nigeria, Togo, Ghana, Egypt, Senegal, you name South Africa. You have stars that are playing well classified, well respected soccer. Most of them are found into the Premier League, and they are now helping to build stadiums, provide infrastructural development, because they have seen the usefulness of football and they know that football is wealth, because it's a kind of game that you can never parry. Unfortunately, when it comes to Africa, you watch at like Sierra Leone, or however they call SLAPA, that is the Sierra Leone Football Association. Maybe Liberia could be like the Liberian Football Association. I don't know how they call it, something like that. If you check it to Guinea, Guinea must also have their own football, Guinea Football Association. South Africa must have their own South Africa Football Association. Unfortunately, what our ruling classes normally do, they do not appoint people to lead this body because of their expertise into the particular game. Rather, they reward them based on political reasons. And if you take somebody who's not a sport lover, who doesn't know anything about the game, and ask he or she to lead that particular football what organization into the country, what do you expect? Nothing, because he or she is there to serve their boss. And they are serving their bosses. When they're serving their bosses, even most of those players that are picked, they cannot be picked because of their caliber, because of their skills, because of their professionalism. Rather, they are picked because of political sentiment, maybe tribal factors, or one or all of those things. So when you watch the very appointment that happens into Africa, no wonder most of our African Football Association are normally suspended. Like Zimbabwe is also facing another one. The Zimbabwe Football game association, they were even under suspension before ever they head into Cameroon for this Yaoundé 2020. Reason being, they had the government interfering into the football activities, wanting to direct, conduct, and slap our football association should be for non-political reason, because it is seen as an amalgamating force, a force that will unite the people. So you cannot go there with political division, with a divide and rule system. So clientism, rewarding people to take up certain positions into football association, into our respective African countries because of the political win that you are supporting. You watch at Europe, they wouldn't want to know where you are supporting or which type of way. All of us are political animals. You must have, even while we speak on television, we speak on radio, we do whatsoever thing. At the end of the day, we must have our own political affiliation. If an election is to be conducted into Sierra Leone, if I want to vote, I will know whom I will vote for. But that doesn't mean that when I come on a platform like this, I should analyze things in respect of the political party I want. No, it should be done in the interest of the country. So unfortunately, you have our leaders who are appointing this particular football association, the president of football association, into African countries based on political sentiment. And most of those youth that will be handpicked, maybe they can easily be handpicked from the popular region of those countries. At the end of the day, you may even see people within the region, they may not tend to support it, to support the very football that we are watching, because they are feeling being deprived, being neglected, being rejected. They can use you, misuse you. At the end of the day, they will reject you, because when it comes to international tournament like this, see all of those things. Sometimes corruption, embezzlement. How many times Liberians, Sierra Leoneans, Guineans, South Africans, Togolese, these Beninese, and other people have been accused of corruption into their football association. Sometimes they can even hold bribes from players to allow to compete into certain competition like this. If you do not give them certain money, you will not appear on the scene for them. And sometimes they even threaten you with a lot of other things. So all of those things, even with female soccer, all of these things. Even the other time, they were the female soccer coach into Sierra Leone was suspended, and now he's facing trial because of sexual harassment. All of those things are also found in Europe. It is not limited to Africa, so we cannot divorce the European football with it. But our own now is so deep-rooted. It is so exposed. It has been established, and people take it to be like a culture, a norm. So this is why for African football to develop, it has to take a long road, because we lack that patriotism, we lack that commitment, we feel so corrupt, and we think that everything should be done on a corruptible ground, and that is why everything has just been vulnerable. I am a Chelsea fan, but I love Sierra Leone to win. I am a Sierra Leonean by my father descent. I'm also Liberian by my mother descent. That is why I can support you. We are also talking about harassment. I also face similar thing like that. I grew up in Guinea, and I schooled into Sierra Leone. But my mother is a Liberian. I have my brothers who are staying over there. It's in Nimba County. Sometimes ago in 2012 to 2013, I was going there. I was definitely harassed. I told them I'm a Kisi, I'm a Liberian, my mother is from Liberia. I showed them the town of my mother. They said, no, but you do not speak like a Liberian. Must I speak like one before ever you classify me to be a Liberian or being detained? Even the paper that we are given to me to travel into Liberia, they overlooked everything. So similarly, I was also in Guinea in some part of 2016. I went there. I faced a lot of harassment. By the way, even disrespect, whatsoever papers that are being given to you. So you see this type of harassment. But yet the continent has managed, because we have seen like WAFU, that is West African Football Association, have actually been contested within West Africa, and they allowed. But that type of freedom of movement is definitely not found within the continent. And even when you want to justify yourself as a Sierra Leonean or a Liberian, people can even judge you the way you speak. Sometimes they even call you because of your name. Somebody will just watch at if you are called Sheku, they say you're a Maningo. Does it mean that a Kisi cannot be named Sheku? He or she can be named Sheku. So gone are those things to be relegated. And when you try to bastardize it, they will tear you into another part. So we have faced that on numerous occasions. So it's not really related. I found it a huge headache when I was actually heading to my brother in Ganta some part ago in 2012, 2013. No matter what I said, I have to tell that, okay, then I see my mother, a Liberian. My mother coming from Lufa County. I say, you know, so more. I say, what happened? You can't tell me, say, I don't know, Kamata. I say, I'm not telling you about that. I tell you, me, say, our Liberian. But how are you speaking so? I say, this I don't need to speak. So all of these things, you face all of these things. So it's very, very difficult. You have to explain yourself. What I'll tell you is mentality, and everything has been destroyed. It's not really easy. So now corruption has become the second thought of us.
Yeah, thank you very much, Amara. Liberia is a special case. Our national identity card is our accent. So strong. I will tell you, my own village.
America, you hear the guy speaking like one Nigerian man. I say, what do you mean? It's very interesting.
Liberians, once that accent, they don't get it, they say no. Your citizenship automatically. You will find an educated immigration officer with your papers complete. But just because you don't have the accent, he can doubt citizenship. This is
some of us here in Guinea. Some Liberians themselves here. I have known a lot of Liberians who are my brothers. They are attending school here, and if they have the opportunity to go into their education into, will you see like Liberians? No, I say we have some amount of background, but I'm no longer conversant to the language because I'm no longer speaking on a daily basis. And my first mother tongue was actually Liberian English, but they would not accept it. And in fact, just because you speak like a Sierra Leonean or like in Nigeria, you are definitely, even no matter how you defend your background, they will tell you no, you must pass something before. But I say, remember, if the guy say not get reality, then the guy be saying now what them are doing all that thing. Have you seen all of these things? So it's really, really interesting. We need to balance the mentality and maybe fight for the development of Africa.
Thank you, Amara. Thank you for giving all that anecdote. What's your favorite team at the AFCON competition this year in Yaoundé? What team are you supporting?
Honestly speaking, I am going in for Burkina Faso. I have loved Burkina Faso for quite a long time. Before this time, I used to support. I love young, ambitious team. I think Zambia lived up to expectations some time ago, but now I have greater ambition, great dream for Burkina Faso. I see them very inspirited. There are certain things when you watch at Burkina Faso, they are deeply destabilized politically, and the economy is not too strong. But these are guys who are absolutely focused. And trust me, I know before this time why I have been supporting Burkina Faso because neither Liberia nor Sierra Leone have been on the continent for quite a long time. So I love supporting underdog team. Like Sierra Leone has surprised us a lot by drawing with Africa number one, which is Egypt. I am supporting Sierra Leone as my own country, and I want Sierra Leone to go further. But I am a realistic football supporter, and I know out of realism, Sierra Leone is actually doing good. It is possible that our underdog team may win the cup. But looking at our current status in time of soccer, I can say kudos to our boys. They are absolutely playing and hoping for them to do better. But should Sierra Leone slip out of it, I'm definitely going on patriotism because of my country's favorite. I'm going to support Sierra Leone. But trust me, if you ask me to handpick a team that I think will go further, it will be Burkina Faso. Because I love them. They have been trying a lot. They are so determined. And even the game that they lost, maybe it was cheap goals conceded from Cameroon, and being that they are the host team and the euphoria into the stadium
Right.
actually.
I want to digress a little bit from the main topic and ask you a question. There's a photo trending, of a lady who went on her knee to give her blessing to her husband, a Sierra Leonean footballer. And then for some reason, the photo went viral on the social media and said there was this lady that bowed down to her husband. It's the culture we are living in now, this culture of feminism. So it became a news that a lady went on her knee in front of her husband, because whether she was praying for him to go win the tournament or something, we don't know. Do you know anything about that photo and why it was trending?
This is a lady that I know personally. We grew up together. Her name is Hawa Dumbuya.
Okay.
She's a Mede from Kailaon district. She knows me personally and I know her very well. I know her parents is from Gulala, that is Kailaon district, Lawa Chiefdom, a very small village. But this is a well-placed, exposed girl. She's very bold. She may not be highly educated, but she's a type of girl who is very vocal, and she's one of the few female that we are actually watching up to. She knows me personally, and I know her very well like my fingertip, because I can say in our early 2000, 2002, 2003, 2004, 5, 6, we all grew up in Kailaon, and she just left in Kailaon in the late 2020. Even during this Christmas year, she and I saw in Kailaon, she was there. Her name is Hawa Dumoya, but now she's not married to Musa Tomo. And that is Musa Nua Kamara. He is one of Sierra Leone's attackers, and he's also in Yaoundé currently that we are speaking. And Hawa Dumoya is a girl who is actually liberal. She is not afraid to voice her sentiments, and she can say anything that she wishes to say, and she has no barrier in type of communication. I think it was just a farewell. They got wedded some few weeks ago. They got wedded. So when her husband was about to leave for Cameroon, she went. It was like showing public love. But the mentality of our Africans, it is only in Africa that you do not kiss in public. They will accuse you of immorality. I think she on television, being aired on national television, she bowed down towards her husband, telling that she knows that Musa can make it for Sierra Leone. She trusts in Tumu and is going to deliver the right thing for Sierra Leone. And everybody was there. But people try to mismanage Mr. You know what it happens, and they are even seeing comedian whatsoever thing. So irrespective of what you do, you must expect social media to digress your genuine opinion to other things. But it was just like her self-confession about how she feels about what her husband is definitely capable of doing. And maybe being that they are newly married, they never enjoyed their honeymoon, and he was about to take an exit out of the country for a month and some. She went there. It was very public. So unfortunately, social media. She's a girl that I know personally. She's Hawa Dumbuya, very close. In fact, I think indirectly we are related. She's not too far from me. I know her personally because she's from a village called Golala.
Thank you for giving us some insight about that photo. For me, when I saw it, I was like, yeah, this is normal. There's nothing wrong with it. You guys go on your knee these days to propose to your girls on the street, okay? You boys kneel down these days to give ring to their ladies, say they are proposing in public. So what is wrong now when a lady go on her knees to either pray for her husband or say some good words to him? These are two lovebirds, and for me, it was normal. And I don't know why it was trending. Even in Africa, there are cultures where even by greetings, people bow down. If you go to Burkina Faso, the Mosi tribe, when they greet each other, they go to their knees. The men have their own way of doing it. The women go completely on the knee, and the men, they make a slight bow. That's how they greet. The Yoruba people, they prostrate completely flat on the stomach to greet their parents. And the lady also to the kings, or even a woman to her husband. And this is how they greet themselves. This is their culture. It is not weird. It is not strange. It's not worship in the sense of the Western understanding. This is just a way of honor, of respect. This is how it is done. And there is nothing wrong with it. So thank you very much for providing some clarity. So that takes us to our last question here. Edward Amara, I know is getting down to your area. What are the major shortcomings of AFCON or CAF? Well, we've mentioned a lot already, but for me, what I really want to suggest as an Afrocentric Pan-African, Afrocentric in a sense that my thinking is African centered. The whatever thinking or anything I want to do or any thought process, I put the African personality at the center of my universe. This is the way I think. So as an Afrocentric Pan-African, I would suggest to CAF or AFCON that before this organized, they have to go back to a system where 2 countries should be hosting the African Cup of Nations. Should be 2 host countries. I know they've done it before to few times, but that should be the norm. 2 countries should host the cup every year, and this country should share borders. It should not be, they should not be far apart. It should be countries that have common border. Then now the criteria have to be, there has to be a highway that connects this country. So if you are going to hold in the next 5 or 10 years, you guys have to come up with an economic plan to establish one highway, international highway, to connect these 2 countries, or a train to connect both of these countries. So the AFCON will leave a legacy, they'll leave a good infrastructure for economic activity to continue. Because I should not struggle to move from Ghana to enter into Togo or Benin. I should not struggle to move from Ivory Coast to enter to Liberia. If you see the road between Africa and Liberia, especially if you go through the west to Tulo Play, those who have passed that road, they know Bloloken, Tulo Play, before Tuzon, you get to the Grand Jide area there. The road is like a jungle. Okay, and these are countries we've been like that for years, for almost a century or more than a century. Okay, because Liberia is about 200 years old. So we've been like that. So we can make a highway there to connect the southeast of Liberia to Ivory Coast. So when we have a tournament, the Ivorian can just take his bus ticket and then move to Liberia and then have watch his football match and go back. So 2 countries should host. And the criteria have to be that there should be a highway connecting these 2 countries to allow businesses to flow in and businesses to flow back and forth. This is the only way, because we should not just be jumping. And there is nothing. The AFCON is not really achieving what it was intended to achieve, which is to establish integration, economic prosperity for the locals, because the local businesses have to benefit. That's one of the vision. You see, but when we are not achieving that, people are not traveling, people are not moving, then there is no reason to be hosting this tournament. In Europe, when they are hosting tournament, you see the trains are moving. People move. That's why you see the stadium is jam-packed. It's not only people in Barcelona that you see on that stadium. People flying all the way from around the European Union. They are coming because the infrastructure is there. So these are things they need to be thinking about. So they need to be Afrocentric in their approach. We will not directly tell the governments to do it, because we will say that we have 2 countries will be hosting the tournament. And in order for these 2 countries to host the tournament, this is what needs to be done. Then we will force their hands to be able to do what we want them to do. What's your take, Amara?
I don't know, it's a brilliant suggestion that you have just made. I think there are a lot of shortcomings in respect of AFCON. One is that we have not been able to realize the economic benefit since especially in respect of certain countries. Other countries are actually participating, but they don't even have that hope to host it in the next 20 or 30 years. Reason being, the infrastructure is actually very poor. So we have seen this happening in Europe. Countries can co-host this particular tournament to ensure that there is dividend be divided in both countries. And one of it could be like the share common borders. And if they know that in 3 or 4 years time they are going to hold the tournament, they will enforce doing it. But most of the shortcomings in the African AFCON football is what? Watch at the stadium. Appalling stadiums. If you get into the national stadium of Sierra Leone, it has taken a long time. It is actually under reconstruction because it is not ideal for soccer to be played there. That is one. When you also get into Liberia, how ideal is the stadium? I was thinking that if you have a world-class footballer who won the FIFA World Cup, the FIFA Best Player of the Year, and who won the European Best Player of the Year, also won the Ballon d'Or. So all of those things. So I was expecting that he can revive the African soccer. But I've seen someone with military background qualifying like the Sierra Leone. Somebody with an experienced, wealthy soccer background could not afford to to help the Liberian team to qualify to see themselves. So we are seeing that people of similar mentality ruling Liberia and Sierra Leone should have actually joined hands together and see that they put our soccer together. Unfortunately, we're not seeing things like that living up to expectation. Maybe political interference, a type of appointing leaders of this particular game in our various countries who can only serve the ruling party, listen to the president dispensation, dancing to the tune of the ruling government in power, is not helping to develop it. Political interference is one of the shortcomings of our soccer. At the same time, when political interference comes, it's just an embodiment of everything. You watch at the infrastructure. Is there any developed infrastructure into Liberia? And really no. Even watch our road connection. Very, very appalling. Maybe in terms of infrastructure now, arguably Sierra Leone is a bit better when it comes to infrastructure, talking to compared to Liberia, because and even Guinea in terms of governmental infrastructure, state institutions, Sierra Leone is actually advanced. In terms of state institutions, like Sierra Leone is actually advanced compared to Liberia. But on individual basis, individual enterprises, Guinea is a bit better compared to those two countries. So all of these things are lacking. You watch at the Gambia, you watch at Gambia is a very little one, but they are trying. They are qualifying their country. You watch at Togo, because of their development into soccer, you have well-placed players who are actually helping to develop the soccer of Togo. You watch at Nigeria, Barca is even having an academy into Nigeria. You have the Craig Bellamy Academy into Israel, all of these things. Maybe these things are not also available. So what kind of, do we have the strong academy, football academy into Sierra Leone, Liberia, and Guinea to help build up stars? No. We have children who are well exposed, even our school environment. We also watch at these things. Many a time we have seen schools have been established into Sierra Leone, Guinea, and Liberia. They do not even have playing ground. Do you think that it's only people with calibrated mentality that are going to those schools? No. We have people who are gifted in time of soccer. But if the field is not there, how can you develop the talent of these children? So even our educational system is just helping to nurture the very football that we are preaching. No wonder we keep to grow on to Europe. You have seen a lot of people who could have been Fabregas, who have been the Frank Lampard, who could have been the Mansi Mount, who could have been the Dembele, who could have been Karim Benzema, other things. These talents are dying down. They are no longer existing into Africa because the platform is not being laid there. Unfortunately, we are now seeing that the most sensitive and lucrative job into Africa is now politics, because everything is being shifted into the political wing. Maybe it's high time we started relegating the political mentality of Africans, then sweeping into football and other enterprises that will be able to help certain things. But the shortcomings of football, even racism, is into African football. We have seen that into South Africa, even in places like the Sudan, South Sudan, and even Sudan itself. We have seen that in Tunisia. We have seen that in places like Morocco. We have seen that all over the North African countries, even in some part of Southern African countries, we have seen racism. That also needs to be eliminated. So all of these things in the Southern African countries is there, in the Northern African countries is there, even in part of Eastern African countries where you have white living into Black African countries. You have all of those things. So I think we need to feel ourselves as Africans and understand all of this. So racism, tribalism, nepotism, clientism, corruption, lack of infrastructure, political interference, embezzlement, mismanagement of public funds have all contributed to the relegation of African football. Now, you are seeing it is now lacking the taste. It could have been better, if not the best, that when they say African soccer, all of us will go to the TV. But definitely, as I'm seated there, immediately I leave here, I will feel so proud to go and watch Chelsea playing against Tottenham. Not because it is my own wish, but because he enjoyed that soccer. The stadium is there, you see fancy things, but you go, you start seeing stones in the field, dust and whatsoever, and the area is not ideal. So it's in Africa. So there are times, why do you think African footballers are even refusing to come and play on this continent? Because the field itself will endanger your very career that you are fighting to build. Most footballers have been enjoying to African tournament, and that will end their career. Political interference. The ground is not idle. They cannot even fully cater for those players. Adibayo, who is now, who is a Tongolese but in Nigeria by descent, has on numerous occasions paid for his players, for the Togolese national team to appear into certain tournament. Even the last tournament that was hosted in Angola, he paid everything. Political interference. We have seen that done by Didier Drogba. We have seen that protesting. We have seen people now, the present chairperson of the Cameroon Football Association, Samuel Eto'o. He has one protested against all of those things. So all of these things are there, maybe a lot of things like that. But we need to make a thorough background check and try to fix up those issues.
Sorry, I was muted. Thank you very much for your contribution. We have a few comments here. We'll read them, then we'll get your final statement that we will call it a day. I'll start here from our sister, Margaret Mapu Desing. She's always here with us. She said, good afternoon, Focus on Liberia. Margaret Desing, okay, I need to be posting the comments. She said, hello, Seku. Hello to you, my dear sister. Watching from USA, Nelly Salif. Thank you for watching. We have Darius Kai St. Patrick. He said, no soccer ball. Darius again, he said the referee ended the game before 90 minutes. I don't know what game you were referring to there. Why ESPN doesn't televise the African Cup of Nations? Well, I don't know what ESPN is, but definitely. This is the worst AFCON. Wow. Darius Kai said this is the worst AFCON so far. I don't know why he made that statement. Sewe Christopher said, why ESPN doesn't televise the African Cup of Nations? I don't know. Everybody's talking about the ESPN. Sewe said, I believe the ESPN refusal to televise the African Cup of Nations is discriminatory. Sad. So I don't know what. I think someone need to explain what the ESPN is so that we can know on Focus on Liberia here. Edward, you make me laugh. This is Joseph Weir. He said, Edward, you make me laugh out loud. So much so true about what happens at the borders. Nice job. We have here Brother Bobby Nudge. He's always here on this program. Keller, you make sense. I don't understand how these do not think about things like this. Our leaders must wake up. It is madness. It is indeed madness. They have no vision. Our big brother is here, Dave Ja. He said, as Africans, we need to promote strong alliances with ourselves and respect African nations instead of the perpetual desire to align strongly with Europe. We need economic and financial advancement among Africans. That is a very good Afrocentric point there and a Pan-African point at that. And Dave Jad again said, African wealthy people should play leading roles in African advancement. Yeah, thank you, Dave Jad. And that's it for the comments today. Edward Amara is off again because of network, I believe. Yes, African investors need to come forward. People, there's a lot of economic theory out there. Our professors, our Harvard graduates, they come out with European economic theories and they want to apply it to Africa. And most times it doesn't work. And they have not really sat down to understand that you can have an economic plan that is not always have to be a copy and paste from Europeans. You can look at your own history. You can look at your own local problem and condition and formulate a plan that works. Because a plan is useless as long as it doesn't provide a desired result. If you apply democracy in a society and that democracy is leading to death, it means that democracy has to be edited, it has to be redefined in that particular society in order for it to work. But if you don't do that, then you are going to be imposing something that doesn't really work. So you always have to find the best plan for every society. What works in China does not work in Japan or in the United States. You cannot switch it. You cannot impose it. So we need to look for an economic plan that works. Africans need to come back home and look at our African integration and fix it. There is no way we are going to make economic progress. We're aligned with the West, getting aid, having the World Bank going up and down, giving our handout. It's not going to work. We need to come back home, work with African integration, because you cannot be doing business with Europe if you're not doing business with your neighbors. Your neighbors are African countries. The borders need to be open. The highways and roads need to be fixed. We need to even close our border a little bit with Western world and do some inner job We need to do some inner job. We need to do proper house cleaning in Africa before we open our borders finally to the rest of the world. As long as we don't do that inner job, that proper inner job to fix our socio-economic problem, we are wasting our time trying to compete with the rest of the world because we don't have what it takes to compete. We don't have it. We don't have the technical know-how. We don't have the expertise. We don't even have the philosophy to engage the world. We are just, our leaders go to the world stage as dummies. They just give them paper to sign. You have Turkey Africa Summit, China Africa Summit, France Africa Summit, Britain African Summit, Russia Africans. Every head of state in the rest of the world can summon 52 African head of state to come and drink tea and sit down and eat bread and take loan. That's all they know. That's all this guy can do. If you say they said having business partnership meeting is nonsense. There's no partnership there. They are just being used by the rest of the world. So we need to do inner job. The sport in Africa is $1 billion industry that these so-called educated people are overlooking again. They think it's a group of young people meeting on the stadium and kicking ball in the net. That's all it's about. No, that the so-called unemployment you guys are crying about, that sport alone, the African tournament every year can create employment, can create entrepreneurs, can create businesses. If you open the roads, you allow people to move, to travel freely. The stadium are jam-packed. Money go around. Local businesses will make it. Why do you think some countries only live by tourism? Because people come in and spend their money. So if you open the roads, make the sport to be attractive, do the publicity properly, every television and radio station in Africa talk about the tournament, make it popular, and make the European sport unpopular. Make the African sport popular on the continent. Their money will go around because the young people will spend their money to watch it. That's a lot of money. Okay, when they spend money watching, it's not free. That channel is making money, and the people who own it are making money. So a lot of money go around if we develop our own sport industry. But all these Chelsea and Barcelona fans in Africa, it's good. When you talk, they want to get angry, but these are all part of the neo-colonial way of thinking. We should be Afrocentric in our approach, develop the local sport, develop our stadium, build roads, connection, so that people can make this AFCON very vibrant, so that local businesses can profit, so that our infrastructure can also be developed. So we produce some of the best sport people in the world. You see? So this is where our African leaders need to think. They should avoid the politics in everything and start thinking for the people. Start thinking to do things for the people. That's the only way we're going to go forward. Now every head of state going to lobby with AFCON, then they bring the Cup of Nations to your place because you are able to lobby with them. We should avoid these things. The countries need to be qualified. They should have the infrastructure. They should be able to do what is required in order for them to host the African Cup of Nations. And if the stadium is not packed, that means the AFCON was unsuccessful, because the reason for the competition is to see people, Africans from different backgrounds, from different parts of the sub-region coming together. We want to see the stadium packed. Just like we are watching Real Madrid versus Barcelona, we see the stadium packed and the people are outside. Why is that enthusiasm not there for the African Cup of Nations? Why? It's because something is wrong. We are not, the leadership is not doing its job. And the billionaires we have on the continent need to start investing. The last time our main man, Paul Kagame, he wanted to spend some millions of dollars, to advertise his country on one of the European team jersey. Why? Because he knew that most of the people around the world are watching that tournament. Why, if it was in Africa, that millions of dollars will go around on the continent, that advertisement will profit the young people, and by the same time, it will build our local industries. But we prefer to go out there and leave our own, and then we think that we are doing the right thing. I think the leadership need to really adjust. This AFCON competition is very, very, very important, very, very important, but it needs to be developed. The vision needs to change. The vision needs to change in order for it to achieve its goal, the Pan-African goal. With that, my voice is cracking, guys. So with that, I thank you very much. Edward Amara is not here. He having some network issue. Thank you very much, guys, for for following Focus on Liberia and for watching our program, Roundtable Africa, where we bring you the best from around the continent. Next week, again, we will be here discussing some other important topic that connects to Africa, that concerns Africans and the African development. Thank you very much for always being here. We appreciate your contribution, your comments, and we will always read your comment and read your contribution. Feel free to suggest where you think we need to do improvement on this show, and we will always take your contribution and your advice into account. With that, we say thank you very much again and see you next week.
We are Liberia. Liberia is our home. Liberia people. Liberia.